Hello everybody and welcome to Arsenal Transfer News. Today we're going to be discussing the relevant Arsenal transfers and the players that might be joining or leaving Arsenal Football Club and the news that has happened in the last 24 hours. First up, Sambi Lokonga has apparently had his contract extended by a year. The clause that was in his contract as he entered the final year of his contract was activated by Arsenal with a view to probably selling him. However, it remains to be seen as he might be looking at being a squad option this season, taking up Jorginho's minutes as Zubimendi has come obviously into the club, probably who will absorb Partey's minutes, unless obviously Partey does in fact agree a new deal. So it remains to be seen what can be happening with Sambi Lokonga going forwards. Another player that's future is uncertain at Arsenal Football Club is that of winger Reiss Nelson. Obviously, he was on loan with Fulham, unfortunately got another injury, so it looks like he's probably going to be out the door. But if Arsenal do keep him, he could be a useful squad option. I feel sorry for him because he's a player who just simply has never stayed fit. The London Evening Standard, among others, have stated that Arsenal have submitted a £58 million offer bid for Sporting Lisbon striker Victor Gyökeres. He's obviously the top of Berta's list by the sounds of it. He's on Arsenal's radar, and it is very, very realistic that Arsenal may have submitted that bid in the last 24 hours. Whether it gets over the line is a different matter. There's been some rumours that Arteta has been quite abrupt to Berta that he doesn't want Gyökeres, he wants Benjamin Sesko, and it seems like this situation could be Arteta versus Berta. But one thing for sure is, what do you get with Gyökeres? You get goals. He's a unit, he's absolutely rapid, and he's a goal scorer. He likes coming off that left-hand side and cut in. My concern is that the Premier League doesn't have as much space for him to physically operate. If you look back at his highlight reel, he's also scored like 17 penalties, and he's only scored one header in this season's goal tally, which I know when you score that many goals, it shouldn't really matter. But when you look at how he'd fit into Arsenal's system, Arsenal have a lot of deep blocks to play against, not much space in behind defences, and a lot of their way of attacking is going down the wing and getting the ball into the box, both aerially and also across on the ground with low byline crosses. And I'm concerned that Gyökeres maybe doesn't translate into the aerial threat that we need with the system that we're currently playing. But that'll be a watch this space moment as to if we get Gyökeres over the line. So, the Mirror, and I will say the Mirror because, let's be honest, they're not the most reputable source of newspaper, have been reporting that Arsenal are interested in Julian Alvarez. Now, he joined Atletico Madrid for £80 million last summer, so the fee you'd imagine is going to be north of 100 million if that was to happen. But what a player. If we have any chance of getting Julian Alvarez, I want to put it out there, I would want it. I would welcome it. He would be my main target. He's Prem proven, 25 years old. He's got 29 goals, 7 assists this season in La Liga. He's proven in the Premier League. He's a poacher, he's a dribbler, he's a finisher. He was superb in the Champions League for Atletico Madrid. That goal he scored from the left-hand side, curling it top right, was undeniably world-class. He is a phenomenal footballer, and I would love Julian Alvarez at Arsenal. Whether it can happen is a different statement. I don't think it's a realistic signing. I don't think Atletico will sell simply. And I feel that the fee you're going to look for him is going to be 120, 130 million. If you're going to spend that much on a player, why not just make a sale? Let's sell Sambi Lokonga, say for 10 million or whatever. Add that on, add an extra 10 million and just sign Isak. So that's why I don't think it's going to happen. I also don't know if Alvarez would want to leave Atletico Madrid after such a good season when he seems to be at home there. But you can understand certainly why Arsenal would want a player of his calibre. Now, the other transfer that we've been linked to quite substantially is Joan Garcia, the goalkeeper. I think he's at Espanyol. But anyway, he's Spanish, another Spanish goalkeeper linked to Arsenal. He has a release clause of £20-odd million, but it is seemingly apparent that Barcelona are going to sign him as their first choice keeper. So that means that it looks like we're going to miss out on our number one backup goalkeeper target. Equally, I'm not sure a player of his ability would come to Arsenal to be a backup, especially when he could have a starting berth at Barcelona, even a starting berth in the Premier League with, say, Aston Villa. With Emi Martinez looking like he's leaving, it's hard to see why he'd want to be a backup to David Raya, because in my opinion, he isn't substantially better than David Raya yet. So it would be up to him, but I just wouldn't understand it. Arteta's favourite transfer is still rumbling on. Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig, £60 million is the rumoured transfer fee or around that mark. He's obviously taller than Gyökeres. He's got great ball striking ability. He's the one out of the two that I would prefer for the system. I think he needs to learn to use his size a little bit more, and he's a bit raw, but if we could coach him properly, there's no reason why he couldn't fit the system we have like a glove. He's got all the physical attributes to be a top striker in the Premier League, and I think that he is the one I would personally go to. Another transfer rumour that's been happening this morning is Rodrigo, but it seems to have quietened down a bit because Xabi Alonso has been announced as the Real Madrid manager, and he called him a spectacular player. So if this was to happen as a transfer, I think it will be later in the transfer window when maybe Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso have an idea of what they want to do with their squad, whether Rodrigo fits those plans or whether they need resources to bring in a specialty type player. You can imagine with the players that they have available, they may need to get probably maybe one or two harder working forwards. Rodrigo does fit that mould, but if they were to purchase two harder working quality forwards, do they need to finance that through a sale of Rodrigo to fit maybe Xabi Alonso's system more sort of adequately? Now, the final one I want to discuss today is one that's not really linked to the media at the moment, but we know in January a £40 million bid was rejected by Aston Villa for Ollie Watkins. Now, Ollie Watkins is obviously turned 30 now, I believe. But even if he hasn't, Villa have just, unfortunately for them, been knocked out of the Champions League places. They came 6th in the end because of some horrific refereeing. And therefore, they're in a vulnerable PSR position, meaning that they don't have much money to spend in the transfer window. At this point, because Ollie Watkins has been at the club for over 5 years, he'd be classed as pure profit. Is this the time for them to sell him? Now, he's not signed a new contract recently, and if they were to sell him, then obviously they would then look to reinvest, probably bring in Marcus Rashford on a permanent, and that would fund that move. But equally, Ollie Watkins did get taken out of the limelight a bit towards the end of the season, didn't play as much for Emery, and could potentially offer Arsenal some cover both on the left-hand side and up front. I know he's not played on the left-hand side in recent years, but he has played there in the past. He's Premier League proven, can hit the ground running, and would be an excellent addition to the squad. I feel that it would be sensible to go for Ollie Watkins if you were also buying a striker or you were buying a winger that's going to get you goals and he could play up front. The other reason it would be sensible to go for Ollie Watkins is if Trossard was to leave, because they both have the same sort of age profile, sort of both similar characteristics. Obviously, Watkins is a lot quicker, more clinical, but they're the same kind of sort of build of player, so I think he could fit into the squad to replace Trossard, especially due to the age profile thing. We know Arsenal need more forwards this summer, though. Could they, if they were to go for Watkins, is it likely that that deal is something that would happen a bit later in the transfer window? Maybe so. That's just something. But he's proven, and I think it would just happen later in the window. But I think £40 million is probably a fair price for him at this stage of the transfer window, being in the summer, where Villa's situation they are in, they probably would maybe even bite Arsenal's hand off for that type of deal nowadays. We'll wait and see. One quick one, Zubimendi. Apparently he's going to be announced soon. Obviously Arsenal beat Liverpool to the march for him. He was going to join Liverpool in the summer last season. Didn't do so, stayed for a year, and now looks like he's coming to Arsenal. It's had the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. It looks like it's going to happen shortly. So hopefully we do get Zubimendi through the door. It'd be a really exciting signing. Obviously, Partey's new contract potentially is going to happen for a year or two, which would be good, I think. Obviously, there's a lot of external factors with Thomas Partey, but for footballing reasons, if we're looking at it pure from his quality, I think it's important to get a player of his calibre tied down to a new deal as soon as possible because of the amount that he adds to the team. But even still, yeah, that's the situation with Arsenal at the moment. If there's any transfer news that you've heard, leave it in the comments below. If there's any player that you would want, then leave it in the comments below. We'll keep doing these as often as new news breaks. I hope you've enjoyed. As always, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more from me. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.